Hello and welcome back to the British Touring Car Podcast. Another 10 minutes with, and it's the weekend, so we've got a beer. British Grand Prix on a bit later, and as a result, we're going to try and solve the track limit issues this week, which may not be solvable within 10 minutes, but we'll have a bloody good go at it.
Everything is solvable down the pub.
Yes, exactly.
Or in the front room with beer. So this obviously comes off the back of Ricky Collard losing a race win earlier this season, which caused all kinds of controversy up and down the British touring car grid. It's also created an article in Autosport, which is what we're using today, which was written by Marcus Simmons back in May. So I think the first thing we need to really look at is what is a track limit violation, Sam? Because we say track limits, and we need to be able to read what those track limits are, which means I need to find the bit in the article.
So over the last couple of years, there certainly in British touring cars, we've had the main tracks being the MSV tracks, Motorsport Vision tracks, owned by Jonathan Palmer, and we've had pressure pads at most, certainly certain corners, where you get normal track limit violations. And if they were to trigger the pads in previous years, then they would get that flagged up on the timing screen, and then they'd lose that lap, or it would be looked at, basically.
Yes.
Whereas they've now taken a different action from this season, or from the start of this season.
Yes, as you said, up until 2023, it was policed with, particularly at motorsport vision circuits, such as Brands Hatch, by sensors positioned on the outside of corners that are triggering all four wheels go off course. For this year, Motorsport UK has decided that any part of any wheel going off course constitutes a track limits breach. And in doing so, it has created a problem that is almost impossible for people to keep on top of. Because this now means that the pressure pads that have been set up work under the old rules, have not been recalibrated for the new rules yet, which kind of relies on marshals, clerks, spotters, keeping an eye on 27 cars, which in the opening couple of laps is impossible. As long as you're not leading, you can probably commit as many track limits breaches as you want in the opening few laps, because they're never going to be able to pick you out of the pack.
But the big thing this year, at so many races that we've seen, is they're only marshalling or keeping an eye on certain corners where you're going to expect possible track limits violations. Like at Alton Park, I think we had 3 different areas, one of them being the exit of Old Hall. Consequently, a load of people were trying to cut in as close as possible on the inside of Old Hall to try and gain back that advantage that they were losing with not being able to run out wide.
Yeah, by the end of the day, they'd made an absolute ditch through the inside.
Yeah, it was a grass track.
Yeah, because they'd worn it completely away and created a groove, which is ludicrous, but that's not what the marshals or the clerks, etc. were looking at.
No.
Therefore, it wasn't a track limit violation, which is mental. So, with the Ricky Collard one, I think we discussed this at length in the past. We don't want to see drivers losing race wins, but equally we don't want to see drivers winning races by gaining unfair advantages by exceeding track limits. The whole point of track limits are to stop you leaving the asphalt to gain an advantage.
A perfect example of that, I think, was Cook and Neil at Croft.
Yep.
When one got sent right down the inside into the penultimate complex, and I think it was Cook. Was it Cook took the win, but then it was given back.
Neil took the win.
Neil took the win, but it was given back to Cook because it was an outrageous move down the inside on the grass.
Yeah.
And we all said that's not going to stay, and those are the sort of decisions which are cut and shut. Absolutely fine with those. Gaining an advantage by, and we're talking millimetres on the outside or the inside of a corner, is it going to make that much difference? Yes, I understand you carry a little bit more speed through the corner, you carry more speed down to the next corner, and it can gain you a couple of thousandths maybe.
To me, the biggest problem is that if they've gone for the line that any wheel leaving is a limit, which is ludicrous because that's just impossible to police. We don't have the technologies that on each corner of the wheel to work out if they've gone offline or not.
No.
I don't think even in F1 they could do that.
No.
No,
I mean, look at the amount of track violations that there were at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And still, half an hour after the race had finished, they were still working out which cars had overrun those limits and then got penalties. And then you had to wait another hour for the result to be fully classified. We can't have that in touring cars.
No.
We don't really want that in racing.
No, exactly. So it's a fine balance because you don't want people winning or gaining places through unfair means.
Yeah.
But like, I'm with you. I don't see how if one wheel leaves the circuit, how that's necessarily an advantage that completely sets them apart. Because I can understand if all four, because you can carry more speed because you can run the whole car wide. I get that, and you see it at Paddock Hill Bend that you can run it quite wide because you've got the nice curve, then you've got the painted area, then you've got the gravel. You can still clip the gravel if you're not careful, but you've got a nice runoff area and you can therefore carry more speed down the hill. I get why that would be a problem.
I think the perfect example in British touring cars, and the corner that we see it a lot having been done in F1, is Cops at Silverstone.
Mm-hmm.
The amount that you can run wide and gain speed there, that is so obvious, because you're getting cars running 3-4 car widths wide to try and keep as much momentum as possible. That is completely obvious. But when you're running a few millimetres over a white line at the edge of the track, it's one, really difficult to police, and two, I don't think it has that big an effect.
No, I agree. I completely with you. So what's the answer then, Sam? Where are we? Let's recover old ground slightly. Should Collard have lost the win?
Oh.
We've only got 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Yes and no. Yes, because he wasn't within the regulations that were there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
categorically speaking, yes, the decision was correct. But not necessarily, if you take motorsport over the last 10, 15 years, then no, it's a very minor offence for what we've seen before and people have got away with.
But is the argument, and I don't buy into this argument, but to present an argument,
yep.
is the argument that all 27 drivers know the rules, they know how it's being policed,
yep.
and therefore they need to make sure that they don't fall foul of those rules.
Yes.
We follow rules every day in society that we don't like, but we have to follow them, otherwise we get penalised.
Yeah.
Unless we're rich and can make it all go away. But generally speaking, we are penalised. So it's a difficult one.
It's very much like a case of speeding on a 60 mile an hour road, and you're doing maybe nearly 70. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you'll get away with it. There won't be any police.
We don't endorse that, though.
No, we don't endorse that, but it's not not necessarily driving erratically. Maybe you're keeping pace with the cars in front of you, the cars behind you, and you're going above the speed limit. Yes, it is outside the rule of what should be done, but it's not necessarily gaining you that big an advantage.
I know you're trying to go with this. Yeah, I see what you're saying, is that lots of people will be doing it and not everybody will be caught, which is the similar what's happening to the touring cars. I have a solution there.
Here we go.
I'm half a bottle in, so I've got a solution. It's a very, very, very easy solution in my mind. You can have 2 wheels for that corner, so on the outside of a corner, right, that can overrun. If it's a left-hand corner, you're running wide, you can have the front left and the rear left overhang the white line.
Yep.
Okay. The minute that the right front or the right rear cross that line, that's a track limit violation.
Okay.
To me, that's the best way to sort it.
So how do you measure when the inside of the right-hand tyres that are underneath the car then go over that white line?
That's why you have,
which is the same issue that we still come to at the moment with all 4 wheels going.
But that's why we recalibrate the sensors, and I think it's actually easier for the marshals to spot that than it would be easy, or the clerks to spot that than it would be for any wheel, because you're looking for one that's it's overran that way or is overcut, depending which way you look at it. So if you're coming into a corner, it'll be the wheels close to the corner can overhang the line, but the wheels farthest from the corner or the exit can't. I think that's easier to look at from a point of view of the cameras we have and the marshals we have, because if you had it baffles my mind, and I can't get this in a chat for another day, but I cannot understand why we only have a handful of cam cars each weekend. They should all be cameraed up. It's ludicrous to me they're not. Just camera them all up. But then what you can do is you can then see it much easier on the onboard. You can tell when you're watching on board and someone's committed to track limit offence. We can tell at home. You can see it easily.
I think we've got to delve more into technology, personally.
Yeah,
I think you could quite easily put a couple of little laser sensors that point 90 degrees or right angle down from the car.
Yeah, but what
that spot the white line, and when you go past that point, it flags it up.
What happens when the sensors fail? Timing sensors fail all the time.
Yeah.
So,
but if you've got 4 on a car, it's very unlikely that if you say set off the front one, that that's not going to work and the rear one will still be
Yeah,
there.
that's true. So for me,
I think technology has got to come into it big time, and
Yep.
there have got to be major changes in that side of things. The human error element at the moment, I think, doesn't make it fully fair.
I agree, but I also think that it's ludicrous that if only one wheel goes over. There's got to be a balance, and that's why, in my opinion,
Yeah.
half and half.
Yeah.
10 minutes flies by, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Well, okay, we've had a stab at solving track limits. If you've got a better solution than us, please let us know below in the comments, and we'll be back shortly for another 10 minutes with.
Yeah, we'd also like to know if you are a racer and you do track days or you actually race competitively in championship yourself, how are they policed in your championship? And what do you feel is going to be the best solution? Obviously, it's a completely different view being a spectator to being someone who is actually out there on the track and racing. So yeah, we'd like to hear from you as well.
Final question.
Go on.
Have a beer.
Yes, please.